Good morning, everyone. Good morning, friends. Welcome. My name is Mike Maher from 𝐻𝐸gency, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this room and this session. And I'm excited to introduce our speaker. I've had a chance to dialogue with him this morning and also yesterday, and I think we're in for a treat. I think we're in for a really, really great session. So if I could ask you to just come and find your seats. I want to introduce to you Dr. Justin Wubben. Dr. Justin Wubben is a healthcare practitioner, entrepreneur, and speaker with a passion for helping others align their business with their faith. He's the owner of 𝐼𝐚𝐢𝐭𝐡 Chiropractic in neuropathy, where he specializes in helping patients with peripheral neuropathy. He's also the co-owner of 𝐻𝐚𝐢𝐭𝐡, a chiropractic coaching group that mentors clinics across the nation. Through his platform, Exponential Purpose, Dr. Wubben is dedicated to guiding faith-based entrepreneurs to realize that their business is not just a career, but a ministry. He has spent over a decade developing frameworks that help individuals remove contradictions in their lives and fully embrace the calling God has placed on them.
Everything you do with excellence, not perfection. You've failed more times than you've succeeded. You are an entrepreneur, and you've been called to do the things people say can't be done, to make a massive impact on others, authentically giving your best every time, even though you may fall short of your personal goals. You put others first, still knowing you must take care of yourself so you can help serve others. You fly to the seminars, meet with your mentors, mastermind with the best of the best, knowing that success leaves clues. You follow principles founded by faith in your calling, faith in your God, knowing that your life is not just about you, it's about your calling to destroy fear and use your unique skills, talents, and abilities to be the person God created you to be. It's time for you to take one step closer and unleash your God-given potential.
Please welcome to the stage with me, Dr. Justin Wubben.
All right. There's a woman named Melissa, and she went through 4 years of debilitating sciatic pain. She had been around every route of care imaginable. She had massages, she had injections, she tried all different medications, but she had never tried chiropractic. Till one day, her husband said, "Baby, you gotta do it. This is getting real bad." And she goes, "Fine, I'll do it." And she took her husband's advice and she went and she tried chiropractic. And she went to a chiropractor and he finally sat down and explained to her what was going on. And she goes, "Gosh, this makes sense." And then she had her first adjustment. And it changed her life. She knew she could get down on the floor and play with her kids. She just could move more freely and her quality of life went through the roof. And she come home after her adjustment, she goes, "Baby, thank you so much for introducing me to chiropractic." And she went a few times, she kept getting better and better until one time she went to a chiropractor and she came home and she was sobbing. She skipped the hug, skipped the kiss, and she went in the door and slammed the door. And her husband's like, "Man, what's going on here?" And he went up to the door, and he's listening, and she's weeping, and he opens the door and he goes, "Baby, what's happened?" And she's got her hands in her face like this, and mascara's running down. And she goes, "I can't believe that just happened." He's like, "Baby, what's going on? What happened?" And she looks up, and she has mascara running down her face, and she says, "Technology's awesome when it works." You know, advance the slide, please. And she said, "You know, that is so much cooler when the suspense builds up and then you hit the button." You get it anyway. Is there a way to change this by any chance? Anyways, you can go. All right, so anyways, let's go. There are awkward moments in life. Yeah? Has anybody ever had awkward moments in life? Yeah? Thank you, sir. Let's give it up for Joe. Woo! So there's awkward moments in life. That's pretty much the story of my life. But this is junior year of high school. By the way, if you look at us, we're the exact same guy. Nothing's changed at all. But there is a river called Denial, and I float in it often. But this is a really important time in my life. This is junior year of high school. I was out running cross country, my low back and hip locked up, and I couldn't take a step. I mean, it was bad. And my mom said, you need to go to a chiropractor. And I said, what the heck's a chiropractor? So I went and had adjustment. I could walk and move. And it was interesting because the next day was career day, junior year of high school. I don't know if, does anybody remember that? Junior year in high school, they asked the question, so what do you want to do with the rest of your life? I'm like, I have no clue, but that chiropractic thing is pretty neat. And so I went into chiropractic school, and I said, holy cow, this makes a lot of sense. I'm all in, I'm all in. And I went through chiropractic school, and anybody, when you go through the 4 years, and then you go 4 more years, and you spend about $250,000 in student loans. But here's the thing. They did not teach me anything about business. Did anybody have a similar experience? You went to college, and you're like, I took a career or a calling, and I don't know what the heck about business. I don't know about marketing. I don't know how to hire the right staff. I don't know about firing. I'm terrified to addressing conflict. And I don't know what profitability, what's money? That's scary and bad and evil. Anybody else relate with that? So, but it all started with me going, you know what, there's something different about this profession that I absolutely loved. And in my state, there are certain limitations. I cannot prepay, I cannot discount. So if I said, hey, here you go, Mr. and Mrs. Patient, here's the value of at least what I think it is. There are some businesses, most of you, you've ever heard of hey, you can go, here's the fee, and if you want to pay up in front, you can get a 10% discount. Has anybody ever heard of that from a business model? That's illegal in my state. So I had to offer services to patients again and again and again, and there's a point in time, my AR, my accounts receivable, is over $100,000. You get patients all this care, and all of a sudden they go, well, we're out. And they disappear. But they got great results. And so what I needed to do is I realized not only did I suck at business, I sucked on collecting finances, but I also put the wrong seat in the bus because they were really kind, nice people who are afraid to talk about money to patients. So the people I entrusted to take the collections of that, you ever know what I'm talking about when you say, hey, you got to run a business? There is the faith side of this. There's the whole point of when you run a business and you want to serve someone, but the contradictions of that and actually collecting the finances on the back end. And so I had to discover the hard way on how I hired the wrong people, how I didn't know a darn thing about money, I didn't know the darn thing about marketing, and now we fast forward and we're doing pretty good. But again, what I want to do is not tell you what we've done well. Is it okay if I just share all the things I did wrong and all the errors I've made, if that's okay, so hopefully you can learn from them and not make the mistakes I did. Is that okay? So just by a show of hands in the room, are there any other chiropractors in here? I don't believe there are. Cool. Hi, any business owners or entrepreneurs? Ah, my people. Anybody work for the business owner or entrepreneur? And I'm sorry. Because a lot of times as entrepreneurs, you get that calling, you get that dream, and you get that passion, you get that fire, and someone's like, can you just tell me exactly to do with clarity, please? So I've also had some phenomenal staff who I've accidentally ran over, mowed over because of my dream and my passion and lack of clarity in my communication. And so I've had to work on all these categories of life to get where we are today. And so when you're a chiropractor, there's a different calling. Would you agree we're in a healthy nation or a sick nation? What would you guys think? Healthy or sick? Sick nation, okay. Is anybody here CPR certified by any chance? Hey, also. All right, you're my go-to. Did you brush your teeth this morning? Okay, trick question, because I'm going to try to read one of the things, one of the slides, if you will, on our nation with our health, but when patients come into me, it sounds something like this, but I'm going to try to do it in one breath if I can. Ready for this? I take the aspirin for the headache caused by the Zyrtec. I take for the hay fever got from the Relenza. For the uneasy stomach for the Ritalin. I take for the short attention span caused by the Scopoderm TS. I take for the motion sickness I got for the Lomotil. I take for the diarrhea caused by the Xenical. For the uncontrolled weight gain for the Paxil. I take for the anxiety from the Zocor. I take for the high cholesterol because exercise, a good diet, and regular chiropractic care is just too much trouble. You're good. Thank you. But a lot of times when patients would come into me, they said, this is what's going on with my health. I'm having a problem with my health, and we come in. And I remember what happened is I got really involved in my church. I started volunteering a lot, and a lot of people came in to my business. And I remember a very specific time, there was a sermon called Jesus the Healer. And I was feeling guilty. I had all these, again, the pastor, the staff, everyone was my patient. I got like, gosh, am I doing something wrong? I just felt weird about it. But there was an altar call one time. I don't know, does anybody do a lot of altar calls? And there's like what, maybe 1 or 2 people that come up every once in a while? But they went through this sermon called Jesus the Healer. Whew. And it was powerful. It was like one of the most powerful sermons I ever seen, because when the pastor went through and he talked about Jesus doing the true healing in your life, not just physical, I'm talking mental, emotional, and spiritual. He says, anybody who needs healing, come down. And it was about this size, if not a little bit wider, and it was double deep, friends. And I remember I've heard the Holy Spirit speak to me a few times, and I heard this very direct statement. He said, Justin, shut up and help these people. So that's my business. I don't know what it is for your business, but when you look at your business as your ministry more than just a business, it's a different lens on how you look at things. Your ethics are different. How you communicate with people are different. Your grace is different, but don't mistake grace with holding people accountable. So there's a lot of stuff that we have to learn and go through, but we all look at things differently. What color is this dress? Raise your hand if you think this dress is black and blue. Raise your hand. Please pay attention to this. Hands down. Now, please raise your hand if you think this is gold and black. Is that it? Or what is it? Golden. See, I don't see that. So what color is it? Golden. Well, raise your hand real high if this is gold and white. Whoa. This is where I start looking at people's faces. Let's do that one more time. All right. Because if you didn't raise your hand the first time, this is going to feel really weird. All right. Raise your hand. That's what I see. Black and blue. Real high. Ooh, anybody? I was like, keep your hand up if you're confused. Hand down. And then what's the other color? Gold and white. All right, gold and white. Raise your hand. Who can see this? Wow. This was a Facebook post back in like 2000, a long time ago, okay? But here's the principle. Once I recognize that everyone looks at life differently through a different lens, a different life experience, I'm not always right. The perception of how I see things is not always correct. And this is why I have no problem being wrong. I really like being wrong, because once I find out I'm wrong, I can make a decision to do something that's right. But I also understand I could scream left and right, up and down at you. This is what I see. This is black and blue. And you know what you're going to tell me? Dude, you're crazy. Because I still don't see the blue. So the premise is, as a chiropractor, I look at things different than a medical doctor. But here's what I want to tell you. I'm not against medical doctors. Some of my best friends are medical doctors. Interesting. Because I know we're all called to serve people and get them better. We have a different style or approach on how we do things. And in business, you're going to have potential competitors. My question is, do you tear them down to build yourself up? Or do you just focus on your business and focus on the clients you've been given? There is a difference. Don't stoop to that level. The political climate we were just in, my best advice, get the heck off Facebook, get the heck off social media, and get up, just don't engage in it. Be the light. Don't go down that dark path. Because there's too many people that says, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm the best, look at me. No, just speak your message of who you can serve. The people I can really get along well with, that's probably most of you, but the people I could probably have a congruent message with, this is a black and blue dress. Because there are some people that you will not be able to relate with because they'll never see what you see. And this is probably the story of my life. Does anybody ever feel like this? Like you're the outcast, maybe the different person. As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you're doing things, you have a different calling than the average person. I think it's right around 10% of people are actually wired as the entrepreneur. 20% to 30% are probably someone's called a business builder. They have entrepreneur tendencies, but they don't have the same calling. They're not willing to go, hey, let's take all the risk and slap it on the table and go. Who's in that category? The one who's like, I'm all in, I'm all risk, let's go. And that terrifies the people over there, by the way. But about 10% of people fall in the entrepreneur. The 20 to 30 falls into like the business builder. They're driven, but just not quite as risk over there. And then about 60 to 70 are more the caregivers. These are the people that just be like, allow me just to be really present and serve and love people. And these are the salt of the earth for employees. But too often what happens is the people over in this category have been taken advantage of. They've been beat up, they've been burned, so they get forced into the entrepreneurial role where they're not in their zone of excellence. And so once you realize that if you're over here as the entrepreneur and you can utilize, not use your team's skills, you take care of them, you pay them well, you have a great staff, a great communication, and a great culture, that's how you get just your culture set first. And once you pour into them and you let them set free, then you can use your business as a ministry and you give them permission in the same way. Because we start our office, and I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just going to say, like, we start every morning. We go around the schedule, we look at like who's on our list, who's having problems, what are the challenges, and we end in, right before we start the day, we always start with a prayer. And if it's from a scheduling standpoint, we will have patients that come in, and some people feel afraid that people will see you pray. I'll be honest, when patients come in, they go, that's like the coolest thing I've ever seen. I love that you guys start your business like that. Because you ever heard of Walmart? Like they get in the morning and they do this weird rah-rah cheer in the morning. Has everybody been there early enough to see that? No? Okay. So they start with this weird like, yay, yay, Walmart's the best, or something like that. And we did a weird cheer for about 10 years, and then we got rid of it. And then we just ended with a prayer and said, hey, tell you what, let's go ahead, circle and pray. God, thank you so much for the mission you put in front of us. Thank you for the people we're called to serve. I pray we always use our skills well. Boom, high five, and when we go. And patients are like, this is different. And if you started your business different like that, every morning, and maybe maybe you're in too big of a business, or you can't even maybe make those rules or changes, but what if you started your morning with prayer like that? What if you started your day like that, every morning, that you just filled yourself with the light, and that poured out into others? How much would that change your business? But so many people are actually afraid to be who God created them to be. What will other people think? Does it really matter? So we're going to try to do our best here with the time we've been given and try to get active participation, because time usually flies with this or it goes slow, and we're going to probably be bopping here pretty quick. But I'm a big fan of active participation, so is everyone okay with that? Okay. Does anybody have a fear of public speaking? And that's okay, because I used to have a terror of it, and so we'll talk about that. But here's the thing. It's not about what I think, and it's not about what people think, and it's definitely not about what the critics who try to tear you down say. It's for I know the plans I have for you, the plans to give you hope and a future. And that's the biggest principle on here, is it's not about me, it's about you. What is God calling you to do? And that's going to be the theme of our talk. So the biggest disclaimer is there's going to be a lot of things that we talk about, and one of the biggest gold nuggets I ever got was from a guy standing on stage, and he said, I need to stop right now because there's something I said, but there's something you heard. And throughout this, if your ears are wide open, I might say something that might make you think something else, or honestly, the Holy Spirit will probably speak through the lens of your ears, and you might be convicted to do something that's uncomfortable, something you need to do that you've been holding off. But it's never something that, oh, Justin made you do this. It's something, I hope everyone is attuned to the Holy Spirit and figure out what you're supposed to do in your business, your life, your career, your family, your health, and every category of life. And once you realize that's the Holy Spirit speaking to you, game over. The question is, will you be obedient and follow through what he's telling you to do? Because I know sitting in this room right now, someone's right on the brink of something. God is like calling you to do it, and you're holding back. You're running the other way. And I don't gotta know who it is. I just know I've chatted enough people in my life. There are people in this room who are on a brink of a breakthrough, what God's called them to do. And so the whole goal on this, in the very limited time, we're going to talk about how to identify God's calling on your life, how to decide and define your outcomes, overcome procrastination, maintain a positive attitude no matter the circumstance, remove all distractions in life like I'm too busy or not enough time. Is anybody too busy? Or anybody else busy here? Yeah? Show of hands. Hang on, I got to do that. Show of hands. Anybody busy? Hey, that's a different question. Destroy lies from others and your internal dialogue and expand the concepts of what's possible. Surround yourself in a judgment-free environment. I pray this is it. We'll create that. And then leverage fear so you can destroy it. Does this sound okay? All right, head bops. I like that. All right. If it makes sense like that, say, that makes sense. Okay, so whenever, anybody else ever do any speaking at all? Ever in your businesses? When you actually have active participation, it also helps their brain become more engaged. Because if everyone sits there the whole time and goes like this, one, you don't know if they're alive. But you'd rather, hopefully, they're head bobbing like this versus head bobbing like this. Okay? So, anyways, I really want to talk about how to build God's kingdom with your business. And if you guys flip over to, anybody have the booklets? On those, there's usually not enough space for that. So you can take this home, and I want you to use this framework for every category of life. Because the top question is, what do you want? What do you need to do that you're currently not doing? Distractions, everything. This is a framework that I've probably spent over $1 million on both coaching, masterminds, mentorships, marketing, everything like this. And I thought God was supposed to give it to me for me. And then through a lot of quiet time and reflection, he says, just give it away. And I went, whoa. I had that moment, I was like, yeah, but, and he's like, who's it from? I went, you win. So those 7 internal dialogue, powerful questions help you figure out the contradictions in your life. Because one of my mentors said this, he said, contradictions lead to destruction. And the level of contradiction leads to the level of destruction. So the contradictions in your life might be, what is God calling you to do in multiple categories of your life? I don't know. That's between you and God. But who this whole presentation really is for, it's for faith-based entrepreneurs and the person who sees their business as their ministry. And who this presentation is not for, it's people who put money in front of people, they're ego-driven and have everything figured out. I don't think those people are in the room, but again, that's who this is not for. So I'm speaking very specifically, would you agree, as entrepreneurs and business people, there are a lot of people who put money in front of people. Who would agree that you see that? Ego. You've seen a lot of that too? And then they have everything figured out. I've figured a few things out, but the more I know, the more I find out I don't know. I don't know. But also the thing is, when you sit in a room like this, please realize the amount of cumulative wisdom that are in a room like this. There are juggernauts in their industry sitting right next to you, and you don't even know. Seriously. And again, who here's from Fargo or around this area? Okay. Now, I'm in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and so my business partner, Dr. Matt Christensen, who we mentor other chiropractors. But the thing is, when I go back home, I have my own ministry field there locally. And too often as business owners and entrepreneurs, you feel like you're on an island. Have you ever noticed that? Please realize this is coming together. The island is gone. I flew down to a mastermind down in Mexico. It was about $25,000 to go to this mastermind. And I'm sitting here, and we were sitting there in the lunch line. And this one guy was there, and you make talk like he was wearing the same shirt as me. I'm like, hey, cool, where are you from? He goes, South Dakota. I went, what? Me too. Where in? He goes, Sioux Falls. I'm like, what? Me too. Turns out he lives 4 minutes from me. I had to fly all the way down there. That mastermind cost about $50,000 a year. It was my second year in there. And I'm like, it took me that long to find it? Because gosh, I don't think anybody can relate with me. I think so different. No one can find. Does anybody feel like that sometimes when you go to all your seminars or whatnot? But I went, you know what? They're right in your backyard, and here they are in your own darn church. If some of you go to this church, or at least you're cultivating an environment, they're sitting in this room right now. You can talk about your faith. You can talk about business. You can talk about money in a judgment-free thing. But too often, most people don't think they have that environment. It's right here, friends. So, you guys ready? Now we're going to go mock speed. I wish again, we'll see how we do on our slides. Probably I'll just burn right through them, but we'll just go through this as fast as we can. All right, do you believe God has a calling on your life? Yes or no? Okay, nice and loud. Yes or no? Yes. Good. All right, so step 1, there's 7 steps that we have to do to get clarity on our calling. Step number 1 is you got to get crystal clear. What do you want? But please pay attention. There's a double question on this. What is God calling you to do? Because it's not always the same question. Once you realize what God's calling you to do and then you figure out what you want, game over. But too often it's like this. You have your biggest fear in your life. Some of it is public speaking. Most of it is judgment. Most of you, it's guilt. Any mamas in the room? Okay, I'm going to say 2 words right here. It's going to relate with you. Mama, guilt. Especially if you're a business owner and entrepreneur. You have this conviction and calling to serve people, but as a mama, those kiddos are there, and you're like, I want to raise them, but I don't want to miss out time with them. And I feel guilty if I'm with them and not with my business, and I feel guilty if I'm with my business and not, again, the other way around. It's real. So if you can incorporate a time with systems and people to leverage that and also give yourself grace, which is hard, and put yourself first, which is harder, and you take care of yourself so you can serve others around you. And I want to give you permission right now to do that. Too often, you give from an empty cup. And that was the interesting thing, is after seeing a couple thousand patients, I noticed, when people come in and they have issues, like there's the, eat well, move well, think well. But I noticed patterns on the people who kept getting flare-ups and would not do well. They had a lot of chronic migraines, they had low back pain, and they also didn't get well. And I went, okay, but we're doing the same thing. How come they're not getting better? And what we found is a lot of people had emotional stress in their life. They feel guilty, they feel bad, they feel evil, they feel wrong, ultimately stressed. We heard a lot about people pleasing this weekend. People pleasing. But you can't give from an empty cup. So give yourself permission. If you can write anything down, it's I give myself permission to take care of myself so I can take care of others. It's okay. It's not wrong. It's not bad, and it's not evil. Because I know that's in this room. The fellas, you're busting your butt. You're trying. You're gone. You're serving people. It's like a hunter. You're out trying to hunt it, kill it, bring it home dead. You're like, baby, look what I brought. I brought home the meat. And they're like, you're always gone. How come you're not here? I'm doing this for you. That's another level of guilt. Fellas, anybody else know what I'm talking about there? And so that thing about marriage, which was also talked about, once you recognize that the enemy would love to make you feel guilty, or you're having a hard time not having crucial conversations, or you're not able to take care of yourself, it becomes heavy, doesn't it? But sometimes the biggest fear is filling ourselves up with the love, the grace that is given, and taking time for ourselves so we can serve others. And then you might be asking then, well, where do I find all this time? Does anybody ever think that? When you're too busy, I wish I had more time. Okay, I don't have it on me. Anybody have their cell phone on you? Do yourself a favor right now. This is a truth moment. Open your phone, go to settings. There's a screen time app. You guys know where I'm going with this, don't you? Every time I see these big smiles, they're like, oh crap, I got pegged on that one. All right, go to screen time. You want the truth? Does anybody see how many hours they're actually logging per day? It's not something most people really love to share. But all that is, if you want to talk about the time you've been given, is it intentional time? Who's got young kids here? All right. Nice and high, one more time. Okay. I want to give a gift, so hopefully I was given this. You're like, oh gosh, you feel it? All right. So I want to give you guys the best parenting gift you ever can. I got 12 years old, 10 years old, and 7. And I have an accountability group. Every Monday morning, we go and we talk about all categories of life. I've had this for about 13 years. I'm very blessed. Find 4 people that you can really talk about every category of life. They're probably in this room, guys. They're probably in this room. Find them. And one of my friends, Jason Steinley, he's up in Colorado area. He heard it from another mentor. He says, if you want to connect so well with your kids, and yes, I'm 6'6", so this is a little bit harder. So when you're like, hi, did you have a good day? Or if you can get 2 inches below their eyes, hey, did you have a good day? What do you feel?
Meet them where they're at.
Yeah. And you can even go 2 inches lower. you will connect. So if you have itty bitty babies,
What if they're taller than you?
what if they're taller? Then you're always doing great. And I think that's the thing sometimes too often, we always want to be seen, yeah? Because some entrepreneurs are very addicted to stress hormones, and they're doing for two reasons. I want to be seen because I was never seen. And I want to be seen. So if you want to pour into your kids, it's called present time consciousness, when you're so present with the person in front of you that you're not distracted. So when the cell phone goes down, keep it down. Shut it off. Do not turn that thing on. The enemy is only here to distract you with that. The biggest, best gift you've ever been given is the gift of time. Time is infinitely more valuable than money. You guys know this. So with your actions, what is the biggest action step you can do? I'm always accused. Well, he never responds to his texts. He never responds to his emails. But you know what? I'll never be accused for not being ridiculously present with the person in front of me. Now, set your boundaries, automate systems. You got to have systems, delegated things, because if you're trying to be the person who gets all the emails, and if your primary role in the business is to answer the emails, and you go, that's it, that probably won't work out so well. But set those clear boundaries and stick to them. Because your business will dominate most of your life with the time. Do not let it dominate the biggest regret, which is time away from your kids, your spouse, and true relationships in your life. Because we all have that calling. I asked Dr. Cloud last night, they had their little group, and I said, how do you do what you do at the level you do and have a successful marriage and be a good father? And it's the number one question I ask all my mentors. Most people think, oh, I want business advice. I'm like, And I've been always given little gold nuggets. Block off your schedule. Do a time study. When you're driving home, you know the path. Does everyone know the path they usually take? Like, you can probably visualize it right now. Pick a stoplight specifically. It is time when I turn, like do a physical mental exercise. When I turn, I'm turning on business. When I go home, I'm turning off business and I'm turning it on for family time. Because here's what I know about you guys. If you're the true entrepreneur business person, you can do anything for your business, whatever it takes, right? That was Tony Robbins' voice, just a little bit. Whatever it takes. But when it comes to your marriage, you got leftovers for your family and your kids and or husbands and wives. Am I on something here? The most powerful gift you can ever do is use your skills, talents, and abilities in your workplace and be efficient and be profitable. Hire great people to leverage your time so you can go home and go, I got juice for the people that are the most important in life. Because the number one regret for any entrepreneur on their deathbed, especially a lot of men, again, women, again, this isn't a black and white statement, but from a men's standpoint, when I interview them, they go, I wish I would have spent more, I wish I wouldn't have worked so hard, and I wish I would have spent more time with my kids. And so I've been doing a time study for myself. I figured that out soon enough. I shadowed a spine surgeon when I was in chiropractic school, and he goes, you know what, and he was doing this, and I had 4 medical students sit next to me, and he goes, guys, I'm making a lot of money doing this, but I'd give it all up and spend time with my kids. And it was an 8-hour spine surgery. Someone was being fused from here to here, and there's 2 things I learned at that time. One, he talked about how horrible it was, and I like to see what people have as regrets, and I do the opposite. And number 2, he had a chisel like this, and he was on someone's spine going, pink, pink, pink. And I felt pretty safe about chiropractic at that point in time in my life. Side note. But so anyways, when you go through that, little tips in parenting, tips in business, tips in life, follow mentors. And I think that's what, for time bending, a lot of people say, how did you get to the level you did? Well, the first thing I ever did about 10, 12 years ago, I actually prayed for wisdom. I said, God, I learned about that. That was in the Bible, huh? Pray for wisdom. The other stuff's going to come on the back end. Now, what is wisdom? Wisdom is information from mentors or people who've done what you want to do. They've actually achieved the thing. So you don't go to a broke person and give financial advice. Maybe someone in your industry is at that level. And that's why, again, I have no problem paying for them as long as they can get me there or give me some wisdom that helps cut time. Because bending time is probably one of my favorite things I love to do. But if I try to figure out all by myself, it's going to go slower. It's going to be more frustrating. But once I partner or pair with certain people or hire the right people who are stronger in my category of weakness, Because here's a secret. There are people out there who can do things better than you. Shh. And when you hire the right people, you'll know it'll be easier than you can imagine. But sometimes you partner with the wrong people or hire the wrong people. Has anybody ever done that before? Oh, I'm not the only one? And you have to have those conversations. And here's the biggest thing as a Christian with a business owner. Do not confuse kindness for competency. That was hard because I had a person, I found her at church. Phenomenal human, great person. But I hired her as my office manager. She hated money. She hated talking about people. She hated all the ops stuff, but she was really nice. You know how hard that is to go, well, it's time to let you go. Or you move them to a different seat of the bus. So that's the hardest thing. There is this fine line as a Christian. You want to make sure you live the life of Jesus the best you can. And by the way, here's also I want to know, in this room, how many people here struggle with perfection? Okay. Can I give you this? It's not possible. We tried to be the image of Jesus, but it's kind of like the moon. The moon is shining bright, but it has dark spots. The sun is the thing that gives the true light. But if we're a reflection, we're still going to have dark spots. It doesn't mean it's, well, that's okay. I'm not perfect, so I'm just going to like this. But give yourself or receive grace to not be perfect. Because we got a lot of staff members. They're phenomenal humans. But I said, please, excellence is okay. Do your best. But if you demand perfection of yourself, you will absolutely be unfulfilled for the rest of your life because you'll never achieve it. It's not possible. And so as you're growing your business or as you're in there, just make sure you're giving yourself grace on that. But some of your biggest fears is looking in the mirror and telling that person that you actually love them. I had a patient one time, same thing. We're doing everything. And I'm just like, again, sometimes, anybody have the Holy Spirit to actually just kind of speak to you just every once in a while, those little whispers. It's okay, it's a safe place. Because on the outside, people are like, I hear God's voice. You're like, is that where you hear, I see dead people too? No, not the same. I've had about a few times where I hear God's voice and it's very, very clear now. There's a discernment inside. I'm pretty crystal clear. Is that from God or is that not from God? But if some of you are trying to find God's voice and you're like, I don't know, I can't hear God's voice. Here's a principle in life that's worked out pretty well. Adopt it if you like. Find out where everyone's struggling, and if everyone's do that, do the opposite. So the same principle, if you know maybe not what God's voice is, I'm pretty sure you know what the enemy's voice sounds like. You're not good enough. You're bad. You're dumb. You're stupid. You're not, again, all the lies. Just whatever that is, then do the opposite. Because sometimes the enemy's going to scream real loud, and God's voice is a whisper. And so if you just listen to the little whisper in quiet time, that's when you're going to have the good stuff. Is this making sense? Here's the deal. Sometimes I go a little too deep, and it's people processing. It's like, doo. Because public speaking, I wasn't scared of speaking. There was terror, but I was terrified, which is amplified terror, is probably the best way I can explain it. Like 2 people, 3 people, they're like, hey, talk about this. It's like, boom, 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 boom. Is anybody kind of like that? Hey, I want to let you know. Hey, it's okay, safe place. Who kind of feels like that? You are the most powerful leaders potentially, and here's why. If you ever think of this, one of the top fears is death. The other one is public speaking. What if you could stand up and use your business and talk about Jesus? The enemy would love you to close your mouth. So you give yourself permission to do the opposite. And it might be scary, it might feel weird, it might feel whatever, but here's what I know to be true. If you're passionate about that calling, you could transform someone's life. You could lead people to Jesus through your business. I've done it. It's been fun, but if I would have kept my mouth closed, the enemy loves that, by the way. And some of you are like, that don't bug me. That's okay. But for those, again, you just need that permission to step out of what will people think? I might sound funny. I might say, Hey, I say, ooh, my hair's falling out, so I'm good. Find that flaw, call it out what it is. Now what? I'm still alive. Because the biggest fear you think you made it up, or someone spoke that into you. But when you're in a safe environment of people who are authentically trying to listen to you in like your business or whatever it is, you don't mind, hang on, son. This is fun. I've been wanting to use this, by the way. If anybody ever falls asleep, I throw that in the, no one falls asleep usually, but it's a microphone. So, what's your name? And mind sharing what you do for your business, please?
Is this on? Works? Oh, great. My name is Rebecca Jorgensen. I am a physical therapist, and I love Jesus, so.
Amen. Here's a cool thing. Rebecca, you're gonna throw this for 1 second? Yeah. Okay. What's your name? What do you do?
I'm Allie Dahl. I'm a PA who just opened up a direct primary care clinic to take back medicine.
Woo! Here's the fun thing. Wouldn't the enemy love to, have you ever heard of chiropractors, medical doctors, PTs, and PAs all doing this? Wouldn't the enemy love to see that battle just keep happening? What if we stood in a place and said, keep up the good work. You're awesome. And you threw the profession out. What's the enemy going to do with that one? So then my question would be, if you don't mind, you said you have that kind of that fear of speaking?
Yes.
Tell me more. What do you mean?
God's working and stirring my heart to speak. He's doing things to move me to do it and to do it confidently and boldly with him. But it's just that Holy Spirit, pounding in your chest that you're like, I'm so scared to do this, but I know it's what I'm supposed to do.
Yes.
So I am obediently stepping into that, walking into that call, and it's scary, but he's with me, so.
Amen.
Yeah.
Hey, give her a round of applause, by the way. Now here's a few things. I want to hang on this a sec. Was anybody judging her while she was speaking?
I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah. It's all made up. You'd be a phenomenal speaker. And the thing is, especially if you can use your voice and your skills, and one of the biggest ministries that Jesus ever had was healing. Doesn't matter the vessel. So wouldn't it be great if you said, hey, this world is struggling for healing, and hey, by the way, we're here just to help you out. By the way, this is what I do. I love Jesus. You okay? You don't have to jam it down people's throat. It's who you are. But I also, for those, again, the public speaking, I had to change a story in my mind. In order to speak, you got to have a lot of blood flow. I have a lot of oxygen that's pumping it through. So you're being prepared to speak. You just got to change the story. Because I would sit there, I would get flush red. My heart, seriously, you could probably go and see it like in my shirt. It was like crazy. But now I'm like, I was just being prepared. And when you change that story, because the enemy loves to plant a seed of judgment, lies, I'm not good enough. What if I have this? Hey, what if I accidentally go to the bathroom and the microphone's on? I'm not speaking from experience. But then here's the thing, you own it. That's what it is. Because people love transparency and they love authenticity. Because this world is starving for authenticity. Fake, it's out. So just be the real version of you. The best version of you, and anybody else who has that fear inside of you, just try this once. Just try it. Because there's true fear, like, a car's coming, I'm going to stand in front of it. That's called stupid. But if that, what will other people think, and the Holy Spirit calls you to do something, do it. And here's what you'll discover. It's okay. And the more you do it, it's going to be hard until it's not. Because who here would think that I had a fear of speaking? Because I recognized it was the lie, the enemy that tried to hold me back, and now I can use my voice as a ministry. Because I've had people that, when they opened that altar call, the number one prayer was for healing. Second was for finance. It's interesting. Now, that doesn't mean it's only a healthcare talk by any means, because, Shields, when he was talking, my son's playing basketball. Well, where do we go for shoes? And yet we're in a group of a bunch of kids helping them teach how to use basketball as a ministry. Well, where do they get the shoes? Where do they get once you start looking through a lens of everything you do as a ministry, Matt, when you spoke yesterday about the cars, like for the profits and the nonprofits, what you do for the single moms who are struggling, man, that's a ministry. And how you found those problems or found the people who had the solutions, that was beautiful. And so if you guys haven't met Matt, does anybody know Matt? Heart's in the right place, right? There's scary things. It's tough. Yeah. Tell you what, when you're obedient, the way will pop up. But here's the interesting thing. In my profession, this has also ended up being my number one marketing strategy. And I would go out and do talks. And eventually people would come in and they sit across the room or the table and they go, you know what? I've been suffering with chronic migraines to the point I'm thinking about ending my life. I'm serious. And I've talked to multiple people in my life, both from coaching or mentoring other entrepreneurs or whatever, and they've had guns in their mouths. And they've had that dark conversation because their bank account hit zero. And we're business owners, entrepreneurs in this room, right? I want to talk about a safe place? Watch this. Raise your hand if your bank account has ever hit zero. Most people don't raise their hand on this one. I was at a lecture hall, and almost the whole room goes, as an entrepreneur, my bank account hit zero in my career. Because one guy, he felt safe enough to go, you know what? It's not good right now. My bank account's at 5,000. And one guy raises his hand and goes, man, I'm so far backwards, I would love to have 5,000 in my bank account. But it ended up being one of my biggest marketing strategies. But again, when you use your words, your voice as your ministry, it's a different lens. And here's what I discovered. There's dark marketing and there's manipulative marketing in business. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about on that one. I can be aware of it, but I can choose to use the other side. You can be the light. So this is the biggest thing. This question is, what do you want versus what are you called to do? I was on our guest service team lead, or guest service, the person who stands in the back and helps everyone at church. And there was a sermon that talks about what are you called to do, and it talked about Jonah being called to Nineveh, but it was uncomfortable, scary. That was also referenced this weekend. And then also off to the side, that's the Nineveh. Over here is Tarshish. This is the thing, the farthest thing away. Remember, what's God calling you to do? And you know it, but you're running the other way. The coolest thing about this, because we picked them up at the end after the service was over, I was looking at this. Joppa, this is where people start. They're kind of where they are. God's calling them to go here. There's a lot of people that are moving towards God's calling. But look at this. There were lots of people moving away because they knew what God's calling was. Otherwise, they'd still be where they are. But the person that probably, again, I don't know who these people are, but the person who probably inspired me the most, this one. Can you guys see that from over here? They're the farthest away from God's calling. And some of you are there right now, or in your life, there's someone else who's over there right now, and you're the only link to them to get them over here. But if you're too afraid to use your business as your ministry and love a person where they are, you're not going to be able to build a relationship with them. Because here's the other revelation I've found, is that relationships trump discipleship. Because some people aren't ready yet. And that's why jamming Jesus down people's throat and judging them because they don't believe what you believe, sinners. And yet, if we build a relationship with them, your neighbors, your business, your coworkers, your friends, when they're having a hard time, they go, you know what? There's something about you that, I think you're a Christian. It's a lot easier for you to open the door when they're coming to you. And I've had that happen multiple times. Who's had that in their life before when someone goes, there's something about you, I'm drawn to you. You know why? You're the light. You don't got to jam an agenda of Jesus down people's throat because that doesn't allow the Holy Spirit to do the work. You don't have to do all the work. That's the hardest part. When you're convicted to do something, love that person. Don't judge them. Love them where they're at. Man, that's so much easier. You know how much easier that is? That's so light. But too often we're like, I better jam Jesus down their throat right now. So is there something you need to do that you're currently not doing? So here's a few different categories. I was given 10 minutes. This is about 3 minutes in a 4-hour presentations, but we're having fun. But these are the different categories. When God's calling you to do something, there are about 7 categories. Your spiritual stewardship, probably doing pretty good there, right? And yet, if you talk to someone else, how's your emotional? Your physical stewardship, your relational. That's your people like your wife, your husband, your kids, your friends. Financial stewardship, intellectual, how you're feeding your mind, and then occupational. If you look at all those different categories, you're probably doing pretty good in at least 1, maybe 2, or a lot. But usually there's some that you're doing really good, and there's some you're really struggling in. And what I like to do is find people where I'm struggling the most, and I go find the person who's doing really well. And here's a fun thing in this room. Someone else is doing really well in some of these categories, and they're a resource for you right now. And if you build these groups, life groups for entrepreneurs, Faith Forward for entrepreneurs, all these certain things that you can talk about business, you can talk about taxes, you can talk about staff problems, those things, all those things that you can't just be like, well, we just need to pray about it. There's someone else being like, no, dude, no, this is real. Like, I actually need to have someone relate with me on these challenges. Because I've been to a lot of mentors. I went to the top of the network marketing world. You spend $5,000 to sit front row seat at the MGM with that guy. Grant Cardone. I think some of you probably heard of Grant Cardone. I spent $100,000 for that bottom right corner. There's Tony Robbins. Here's the deal. And here's what I discovered. It ain't about them. But I found the people that were attracted to them, and I built some relationships with those people. And those are the coolest friends that I really have. It's not discrediting these people. There's some neat stuff, but here's the other thing. You might hate some of these people, and here's what I discovered. There's always a little dirt on a gold nugget the first time you find it. So don't discredit wisdom when it comes out of the mouth of someone who maybe you don't like or says something or that you don't believe what they believe. Especially when you got the lens of the Holy Spirit speaking through you. So there's something you need to do that you currently aren't doing. Because on me, I went to a seminar for chiropractic, and that's why I heard, get baptized, and it flew off my pen. I went, okay, next week, baptized. Because I'd heard that whisper, and it was so clear, write it down, boom, and take action. Because there's something in your life, you know what it is. It's stirring in you now, for some of you. Some of you are like, I'm doing most of the things I'm supposed to do. But you have a choice. Be obedient to what God calls you to do, that is one path, or what you want. But if you can align that path, game over. There's going to be bumps in the road, there's going to be challenges, but who do you meet on the journey? That's the most important part. This is a little snapshot into my life. I think in pictures, but I draw notes. I have flashes, and I constantly write things down. And I told my pastor, I go, hey, I took a screenshot. These are only the good sermon notes, by the way. But again, all these things I've been just capturing, like, what's God saying? And I go to business things and be like, ooh, and I kept hearing the same thing. And I kept hearing God's voice at seminars and at sermons. And I couldn't distinguish the two. And that's when it's a really fun place. Okay, don't judge me, pray for me. You guys ever seen those tub crayons? I just kept getting these Anybody think really well in the shower? Okay, they're called Aqua Notes. Write that down, Aqua Notes. I got my wife's permission. This is down in the basement, by the way. Have you ever seen the movie Beautiful Mind? It's kind of scary, but then once you realize, ooh, that's me. But I kept having this thing because these flashes, thoughts, and ideas, and it helps me keep focused on what God calls me to do. I write down my goals. I write down those things. I had a thought, and I write it down. And now it's more organized. That's the Aqua Notes. This is the current one. I actually took this before I left. And this is not my wife. My wife has one that's off in her tub, but this is when I just sit there and I just think. I'm like, huh. But I've written business ideas. I've had more clarity. I've destroyed fear. But it's a very quiet, reflective time for me. It doesn't have to be for you, but for some of you, you'd be like, wow, that's a good idea. But if you do use the tub crane, get your spouse's permission, and then get a little white, whatever those OxyClean, Mr. Clean things and scrub it off. But you got to take immediate action on what God calls you to do. The faster you do that, might be scary, but do it. Maybe there's a person that you're supposed to call and forgive. There's a person you're supposed to have that internal, what am I supposed to do? The faster you're obedient to God's word, it's powerful, and do it now. And I love this quote. Erma Bombeck said, when I stand before God at the end of my life, I'd hope that I'd I would hope that I would not have a single bit of talent left, and I could say, I used everything you gave me. But once you realize you're a vessel, it pours in, it's got to pour out. When I got this information, I was like, am I supposed to keep it for me? No. Just give it, give it, give it. Because if you ever saw the movie Up, who here's seen the movie Up? Man, that'll wreck you. Do it now. Regret. I wish I would have spent more time with my kids. I wish I would have waited on that. I wish I would have. I wish I would have. I wish I would have. Don't. Because the most valuable gift you'll get is time. You got to keep a positive mindset because too many people are impatient. They want things now, and they want them on your time frame, not God's time frame. So you got to really ask yourself a question: is what happens to your attitude if it's sabotaged, if it doesn't happen on your time frame? Because here's the fun thing: this event right here was a vision of mine that I launched in 2020. In 2018, I was called to launch a seminar called Exponential Purpose Live, and I had about $200,000 poured into this. And did anybody else notice something happened in 2020? Something happened? I don't know. And I could have went, yeah, but God, I put all that time, that effort, that money, and then he's like, that's cool. And it allowed me to go, stop going to all seminars, stop doing anything. And I went 100% focus, crystal clear focus on my business. And I grew 800% in the brick and mortar world when everyone was told to stay at home. Because some of you are like, yeah, but God, I thought you told me to do it, and it didn't happen when you said. No, that's when you wanted it. My question is, were you obedient? And so full circle, it's really cool to see this happen, and I'm really, really pumped for them. Because when that shut down, did anybody else life get affected a little bit? I looked like I was fine, but on the inside, honestly, I was struggling. Whew. And so there's a stress response curve of some of you entrepreneurs. You're pushing so hard, and you're destroying your own health. It's not just your marriage or anything like this. You're pushing so hard because you're addicted to stress hormones. And you cannot take a little break and pull back at about 85%. It's okay. It's okay. You'll find your productivity actually increases. But when I got away, this is my business partner. By the way, Dr. Matt Christensen, anybody know who he is? Okay. If you're looking for, I get no kickback from this, but honestly, if you're looking for a man with the light, a heart, talk to Sarah West if you ever need to meet him. This is my business partner who's a chiropractor. Throw out the word chiropractor. This is a man of light. Seriously. I wouldn't be here today. You wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. He doesn't know. Because when you plant seeds of ministry, you might not even see the harvest. And that's when it gets fun. Because when we had our conference, anybody know Sarah? When she came and spoke, she goes, ooh, hey, I need another speaker. And then that's how I came back full circle, and this is not Exponential Purpose Live, it's Faith Forward, because it's not about Exponential Purpose Live, it's not about Faith Forward, it's about Jesus, and about the calling on your life. And that's when it gets real fun. Step 4 is you gotta stay focused. Like I said, whatever that thing is, do not get distracted. The cell phones, the TV, the media, all those things are trying to destroy your time and your focus. Andy Stanley said, what do I need to say no to now? Is there something you got to say no for now, but not forever? That one's a powerful one for some of you. But you got to say no. Once you realize what's distracting you, you got to figure out what it is. And make a decision. Decide. D means of. Side. Cut. You have to cut it out. Get rid of it, whatever it is that's distracting you. Step 5, you got to believe it's possible. How do you believe it's possible? You follow mentors who are actually doing it, not hypothetical ones. Because the question is, do you 100% believe that calling God put on you is even possible? Because if not, you won't even move forward. But the best way to do it is get around other people who have achieved what you've wanted. That's your mentors, life groups. There's other business entrepreneurs here. Guys, it's right here. Please pay attention to who's in this room. And I'm not sure if any of you are at this season. Legacy. Take the wisdom you've had and now pour it into others. If it's your kids, if it's your friends, Maybe you're in business and you need to pour it into other people to delegate that. Not all for you, it's for others. And then you follow mentors doing what you want to do. Who do you listen to? So important. What do you listen to? Pay attention. If your mind is soil, your heart is soil, and you're constantly feeding yourself garbage on, again, I'm going to throw the... Tell me who's got an inspirational thing from the Holy Spirit while watching TV. Fear, lies, deception. Because here's what I know, there's 3 types of businesses right now. Some of you are on top of the world. You got tons of new customers, clients, profitable, doing well. Some of you are stuck, plateaued, pushing hard as you can, but you're stuck. And number 3, some of you in this room, your ship is upside down. I know that. Because you're in a season of life. But if your ship is sinking, you have to hold your hand up and you got to ask for help. Again, it's in this room. Or maybe you know someone else who can help you. For me, my buddy Dr. Matt at that time. And sometimes it's one of your best, closest friends, but you're afraid to talk about Jesus to him. That was also talked about today. But you can love people through your ministry and flip that around. This is also a quick thing. We're probably good on time here pretty soon. From a business standpoint, when we talk about profitability, there's really 5 ways to make a profitable practice. You got to have enough of the new clients. You got to have the proven procedures, because again, I was not taught business in chiropractic school. And same thing with a lot of businesses. You got to have the right proven procedures. You got to have A-team players. Who here loves having good A-team players or staff? You got to have the right, you flip the word, client results, outcomes, patient results. And then on the back end is profits. Profits are good. Profits make profits. They free up your time. They allow you to pay your staff more. They allow you to bless people more. They allow you to tithe more. And if I said the word tithe, here's the question. There's something you need to do that you're currently not doing. And I'm not going to tell you who it is in here. But I guarantee if you flip that around, just test God on that one for a while. And so you can turn that back into marketing. You can turn that back into your ministry. And here's one of the best sayings. God gave me this one. He says, marketing. Marketing is just a moral obligation to let the world know I have a solution for their problem. Because some of you are afraid to put your face out there, your name out there, because someone might judge you. Not when you look at it through this lens. Step 7, surround yourself with like-minded individuals going where you want to go. Judgment-free environment. It's right here, guys. And then you got to figure out what God's calling you to do. And then this here is a snapshot. If you want to take a picture, feel free. This took me about 10 years and over $1 million of mentorship, people who are succeeding in life. And I ran it by psychologists. I ran it by pastors. I've ran it by all the top people. And they're like, ooh, this is good because it's not from me. It may be through me. But we'll run it real quick and then we'll wrap up. Okay, do you guys believe God has a calling on your life? Yes or no? Okay, is there any limit on God? Yes or no? Sorry, is there any limit on God? Okay, so here's the biggest thing. All limits come from the enemy. The whole job of the enemy is to sabotage God's calling on your life. That's it. That's God's calling. When I asked, what do you want? When you link what you want with what God calls you to do, game over. Then you reverse engineer. The bottom is 7 levels of sabotage. The enemy is trying to sabotage, I don't care what category of life. That's his only goal. Because the enemy, what he'll do is he'll use fear, keep you in an environment, and usually that's your own internal dialogue or the people around you, will tell you to it'll keep you scared, tell you lies, won't tell you, or the enemy tries to tell you that your calling is impossible. Constant distraction, negative mindset, procrastination, and you'll adopt an identity as a failure. Unless, when you fill with faith and you receive God's love and you truly know where love comes from, you'll be in a secure environment. This is it, guys. Follow that mentor who's actually done what you want to do, because it'll help you believe it's possible. They'll help you stay focused, to have a positive mindset when it doesn't happen on your time, and help you to persist and consistently do the things you need to do to get the outcome of what God called you to do. That's a personal development, faith-based framework to help you discern every category of life. At least it's how I look at lens of life. And I can figure out, am I around the right person? Did I pick the right mentor? Am I surrounding this? Am I distracted? Am I procrastinating right now? But here's the biggest thing as entrepreneurs. Sometimes the action step is wait. And you guys don't like that. Wait and be present with the person in front of you, because you might gain something from them or give something to them. Because what if God's calling you to do something so big you achieved it, lead thousands of people to Jesus? But here's the best question. If the only thing that happened is just one more person found Jesus, would it be worth it? You got to make that decision. And so this is called the harvest. Jesus traveled. The harvest is great, but the workers are few, so pray the Lord who is in charge of the harvest. Ask him to send more workers in his field. You are the workers, and everyone tries to work for a thing called retirement. If you can find the word retirement in the Bible, let me know. It ain't there. I haven't seen it. Has anybody ever seen anything about retirement? Hit me up if you find it. Because once you realize your business is your ministry, you start looking at everything differently. And an exponent is a person. When I talk about exponential person, you are exponents, by the way. You know, you've heard of Grant Cardone, 10x, this whole thing he does. Think about it exponentially. It's less effort. And all you do mathematically, you pour into a few leaders. And then the leaders pour into leaders who pour into leaders. And it's easier. You don't have to do it alone. If you partner with another leader, it's easier. But an exponent is a person who believes and promotes truth or the benefits of an idea or theory, or it's the quantity representing the power. And so I just had to adopt the identity as I got to stand for truth. Truth is the light. Truth is the way. Am I imperfect? Heck yes. Are you kidding me? But at the same point in time, when you look at it, you got to have that identity of who am I? I'm one of God's kids. I'm broken, but I'm just doing the best I can. And once you put that as an expectation of yourself, that pours into others, and you stop judging them, because a lot of people judge others the level they judge themselves. And as we wrap up, when you talk about, if everybody ever says, boy, it's such a dark world out there, I don't see that. I've surrounded myself with too many people of light. It's out there, but darkness cannot exist unless there is an absence of light. And so when you step into your business in the morning and realize the staff sees the energy that you pour in, how you conduct yourself, that pours into who they become when they're watching you. When you pour into your client, your patient, or whoever it is, you get to be the light. And people go, man, there's something different here. There's something different. So you are the light. Be the light. God bless you, and thank you for your time.